In the 22-23 season, Bayern Munich's grasp of the Bundesliga title was slipping. Their 11-year streak was in jeopardy. Their rivals in Borussia Dortmund looked set to end Bayern's streak. All Dortmund had to do was win the last game of the season in the Signal Iduna Park against Mainz, a team that was mid-table and basically had nothing to play for. Yet despite all the odds being in Dortmund's favour, despite having the likes of Bellingham and Adeyemi, Dortmund drew the game, getting a 96th equaliser, seeing Bayern Munich get their 12th straight Bundesliga title, making it seem to everyone that no one in the near future will win another Bundesliga title other than Bayern Munich. Yet last season, with Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen shocking not only the whole of Germany, but shocking the whole footballing world by not only ending Bayern Munich's 12-year streak of consistent Bundesliga titles, not only did Alonso's men get to the final of the Europa League and win the Deutsche Pokal, but Leverkusen also won the Bundesliga, breaking Bayern's streak and being undefeated through the whole season, seeing Bayern finish third behind Stuttgart and Leverkusen. So it didn't take a genius to predict that Bayern Munich would have to attack this transfer window, being aggressive and being very willing to spend in order to compete with Alonso's men this coming season. And despite us being only in early July and the season not starting until a month and a couple of weeks, that's pretty much what Bayern have already done. Bayern have officially brought in 6 players on permanent deals, showing that they mean business this summer. And so far, looking at the business that Bayern Munich have done, I am very impressed so far. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, I made it very clear about a month ago that Bayern appointing Vincent Kompany made absolutely no sense to me. Bayern had to sack Tuchel last season despite making it to the semi-finals. I get that. But the appointment of Kompany makes no sense to me. Kompany, having badly struggled with Burnley in the Premier League, didn't and doesn't make me very hopeful of what he can do here at Bayern, where the pressure is 100 times more intense than at Burnley. No disrespect to Burnley, of course. But I guess it remains to be seen on how this will work out. Maybe his style and his tactics works better with a team when they are the better team in the league and not a team struggling to avoid relegation. He did that at Burnley when Burnley were a really good team in the Championship. He did that at Anderlecht, so maybe he can do that at Bayern. But outside of the manager, Bayern, in my opinion, have done a lot and been very aggressive in the market to help Kompany be a success in Bavaria. In the 6 permanent moves that Bayern have done so far, they brought back Eric Dyer on a permanent deal from Tottenham on a free, which to me is really good business. He was fairly good at Bayern, and at the age of just 30 years old, to bring him in on a free isn't really that bad business to me. Then Bayern also paid 13 million euros to bring back Bayern Zaragoza from Granada. The 22-year-old Spanish winger was slightly underwhelming in his first half season at Bayern Munich on loan, playing just 7 games and failing to register a goal involvement, but at Granada he had been very decent, and at the age of just 22, for the price of just 13 million euros, it's not a bad risk to reward ratio at all with someone like Zaragoza. The 2 other signings are kind of project signings in 21-year-old German striker / Cam in Sieb from the 2nd division in Germany, joining Bayern for just 1.5 million euros, who's already been loaned out to Mainz, and the 18-year-old Nestroy Irakunda from Adelaide United in Australia, who will also be a project signing, seeing Bayern pay just 3.4 million euros for the 18-year-old. That is a very good price tag for him, who is a very talented 18-year-old with a high ceiling. But like with Sia, Bayern will most likely look to loan Irakunda out to gain some European experience. But I didn't just make this video to talk about Dyer coming back, Zaragoza coming back, and these 2 project signings. No, Bayern have officially made 2 permanent moves that I think are really awesome, as well as making 1 move that isn't yet made official, but it's basically done and dusted, and I think is even a better move than the 2 permanent ones officially announced. The first one I want to talk about is the 25-year-old Japanese centre-back and left-back in Hiroki Ito. Ito was easily one of Stuttgart's best players last season, a Stuttgart team that might, I remind you, finished 1 point ahead of Bayern Munich last season in the Bundesliga, finishing 2nd. Ito is a very good defender on the ball with some high-level passing. In the tackle, he is pretty impressive as well, having won 94.7% of his tackles last season. He's an extremely high-level defender, and the only real downside, I would say, of Ito's game game is his ability at winning aerial duels, having won just 45.7% last season at Stuttgart. But Ito is now joining a defensive unit with the likes of Upamecano, Kim Min-jae, Mazraoui, Alphonso Davies if they can manage to keep him, Eric Dyer, Sasha Bowie, although he hasn't really played much for Bayern. I think adding Ito is some really good business by Bayern Munich to not only add some really good quality to their defensive units, but also add some really good depth for just 23.5 million euros from a Bundesliga rival. Remember, he can play at centre-back, he can play at left-back, and at the age of just 25, he's not extremely old. He's set to be in his prime for the next couple of years. I think this is a really good piece of business by Bayern Munich. And their next and probably biggest official signing so far this summer is ex-Crystal Palace winger Michael Olise on a deal worth a reported 53 million euros. The 22-year-old Frenchman, who is able to play on both the right wing and at attacking midfield, has had a superb stint at both Reading and Palace and has rightfully got his big move to Bayern Munich. Olise is coming off of a Premier League season where he only managed to play 19 games, starting in just 14 games due to multiple hamstring injuries. Yet despite only starting in 14 games for a very mediocre Palace team, Olise managed a very impressive 10 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League alone, which is superb stats to have for a 22-year-old that missed half of the season through injury in a mid-table team in arguably the most competitive league in the world in the Premier League. And quite literally, the only bad thing I could even say about this transfer is the fact that I worry slightly about his ability to stay fit at such a young age already. He has already missed 21 games in the past 2 seasons. It's not amazing, but that's the only downside I can have of this transfer. I think the price tag of 53 million euros for a 22-year-old who has such a high ceiling is a really good addition by Bayern. And I mean, I love this move because he can add competition, quality, and depth out wide and in the 10 position. Add into the likes of Musiala, Muller, Sane, Kingsley Coman, and Gnabry. Listen, I don't know if Olise will be an instant starter at Bayern Munich. I don't think he will. I think there's just so many good players right now. He'll probably start a couple games here and there, maybe even be their first choice right wing eventually, but I don't think he'll be an out-and-out starter right away. But I do think at the age of just 22 years old, his output he has had in recent seasons and the price they got him for, I think it's really good business by Bayern Munich. And now to me, the biggest impact signing for Bayern so far, even though he has not been officially announced by the club, despite getting the "here we go" by Fabrizio Romano, it's the 50 million euro sign-in or 55 million euro sign-in of the 28-year-old Portuguese holder midfielder from Fulham in Joao Palhinha. Someone that Bayern were extremely close to signing last summer until Fulham pulled the rug last second. Palhinha in the right setup is as good of a defensive midfielder as you could theoretically ask for. And in a team like Bayern where they will dominate the ball, Palhinha will do very, very well. Not only is Palhinha amazing at tackling, intercepting, and putting out fires before they even grow to become a huge flame, but he is very underrated on the ball as well. He isn't an amazing dribbler, far from it, but his passing, both long and short, is very impressive. And with his combination of a high football IQ and his height and his decent strength, he is amazing in the air and amazing in 50-50 balls. And in a team that dominates the ball, he should do extremely well for Bayern Munich. I know he hasn't officially been announced by Bayern, but I have no doubt that Palinha will be an amazing addition in the midfield for Bayern and be yet another option that Bayern will have in midfield. I'm really liking the business that Bayern have done so far. And with the rumored sales of De Ligt and potentially Kimmich and Davies, both Kimmich and Davies will be huge losses for Bayern, by the way, but Bayern will still have more sales which will allow them to keep bringing in money and allow them to keep being aggressive and keep looking to sign players to make an instant impact in aims to take the title back from a very good Bayer Leverkusen team. I still think it'll be very tough, despite who they've already brought in. I still think it'll be very tough for Bayern to get the Bundesliga back, being that Leverkusen themselves are a stacked team that have done some really good business as well in the summer so far. But as of right now, Bayern are making all the right moves, in my opinion, to give Kompany as many options as possible in aims to get the Bundesliga back.